Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are going to be talking about raising healthy families, about empowering you parents for happier kids. We realize that you could have lots of questions, and we ask you to give Dr. Justine a quick text at the number below. I wanted to welcome Dr. Justine this evening, and she is our leader here at Justine Blainey Wellness Center. She is a warrior for health and wellness. She is active in the community and a volunteer, but her main objective is to provide you with the best care so that you can be the best version of yourself. Please help me welcome Dr. Justine.
Hello, everyone. We got great information because who doesn't want a healthy family, healthy kids? Coming up with Dr. Udani, you're also going to be learning information about your gut microbiome, healthy digestion, and healthy use of all those micronutrients, the foods and gas that you're putting in the tank is so important. We're going to talk about heartburn, chest pain, nausea, the silent reflux when you don't feel it. That's coming up for you with our holistic nutritionist. She also helps with live blood cell analysis and weight loss programs. I'm going to be sharing my story about how I injured my neck playing hockey and the recovery process. And finally, just how important is sleep and getting great quality sleep. So, a lot of great information on Facebook, YouTube, on our website. Stay tuned and share these with others. These are free. These are our way to give back to you. This is our volunteer time, and we're excited for you to just learn one new thing every single week. So, coming up today, our mission is to serve families with love, education, life enhancing care. So, you may innately, through your own inner potential, you innately express your true potential to be your optimal health throughout life, allowing you to be your best. This is our purpose, and this is the reason why we have these amazing talks. And today, it's about living to your best. And one of the articles I want to think about is these blue zones. When we think about these people living in the blue zones, that means they're living to 100. They're becoming centenarians, but they're living with quality of life, quantity of life. So we think of the 5 major blue zones. That's in Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Icaria in Greece, and Loma Linda in California, USA. In these 5 areas, and according to this article from Daily Motivations, these 5 areas, not only do they live to 100, but they live with quality and quantity of life, and they don't have these chronic conditions. And when we look at what's happening in North America, these chronic conditions are on the rise, and they're on the rise for our kids, which means they have very a limited opportunity to live to 100 with that quality of life. And I think it's so important. I think of both my grandparents being in my life until they were 98, right? Both grandparents till they're 98. What's that's like, right? The opportunity to be and have 19 great grandchildren. So when we talk today, we're talking about healthy families. And when they look at these blue zones, they do talk about everything we're going to talk about today: being active, being engaged socially, being involved in a community, having the energy, getting good quality sleep, being free of chronic diseases, as it is in much of the developed world like Canada and the USA. So we want healthy families today. So we're going to be talking about lots and lots of great information, trying to get rid of these risk signs for these chronic diseases that are building and starting in our youth. So chronic diseases are things that last over 3 months. They affect our daily lives. They can lead to hospitalizations, medications, home care, Medicare. These are not your acute respiratory infections or ear infections or injuries, but these are things that are becoming long term and affecting us. Things like asthma, things that are affecting ADHD, chronic disease. And the good news with all of these is they are under our control. These are things that we can help. So if we look at some of these chronic diseases that are on the rise for their kids, asthma is increasing every year. That is something that definitely affected me in my youth until I was about 27 and started to get regular chiropractic care and got control of allergies. And allergies on the rise. I mean, and when I went to school, we didn't have to worry about peanut butter. We didn't have to worry about everybody with an asthma spray. I was the only one. We didn't have EpiPens or, half the class or more than half the class on a medication. So it is changing, and we get the opportunity to make a better environment for our kids, for my own kids. If we think diabetes is on the rise, type 1 and type 2, we know that can increases our risk of heart disease later on. We know that obesity in children is on the rise. They're now looking at over 20%. Remember, that's 1 in 5 kids, 1 in 4 kids dealing with obesity, which increases our risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, cancer, and much more. It affects metabolic disease. ADHD, ADD is definitely on the rise. They're now looking at that affecting 10% or more. That means, again, that's 3 in a classroom. So very, very difficult. If we look at autism among boys, 1 in 20 boys or 1 in 40 kids. So that means in a classroom, you are now dealing with kids that have metabolic disease, kids that have allergies, kids that have diabetes, kids that are autistic, kids that have ADHD, ADD. Very difficult for a great learning environment for one teacher per class. We're also looking at areas of malnutrition, and sometimes people think that's third world, but no, we're looking at anemia, lowered immune system, brain function being affected because we're eating too much fast foods, quick foods, being on the run all the time. And of course, we're dealing with more depression, more feeling blue, less getting out of bed, more technology. So, we're going to talk about developing these habits early so that we don't have to try and reverse bad habits. We're creating great habits that are going to go a long way for our kids. If we look at some of the challenges, is we have to ask, are we over medicating our kids? I grew up personally with a pill for every ill. My mom, basically, if there was a problem, Advil. If there was not a problem, Tylenol. Go and get over the counter cough candies or cough syrup. It was always, if there was a cold, to the doctor to get antibiotics. And now the research, this is research, is showing that 18 to 27% of kids have been on a medication in the last month. So that pill for every ill is teaching our kids to try and find a quick fix. And then, of course, we're now seeing other medications or over the counter or street drugs, they are increasing as well. So are we teaching our kids, for the way I was taught, a quick fix, some kind of, I want a quick remedy, just deal with the symptoms rather than get to the root cause? And our goal today is get to the root cause, try to prevent problems, be proactive rather than reactive, and then use medications when needed, when prescribed, at the right time in the right place. So not that never, but trying to look at it as our last resort, trying to do everything proactive as much as possible. For me, antibiotics was a common thing. I definitely think I would have had them over every year. I was always sick, always headaches, always migraine, always with asthma. And yet I grew up on white bread, peanut butter and jam, and bologna sandwiches. Didn't know any better. Lots of fast food on the way to sports. So we're going to talk about how to make those changes so that it's not no antibiotics or never, but properly prescribed at the right time and the last resort. And I look at my own kids, who very, very little. My daughter's first time of antibiotics truly was getting her wisdom teeth out. Took one, knocked her out 24 hours, didn't take another one after that because it was just too much on her system. We were able to do a lot of natural ways of homeopathy, supplements, rest, nutrition. So it's not that she never got sick, but she didn't get so severe. We were able to do all the right things at the right time more quickly and be proactive, so she didn't need those antibiotics. My son did get a severe tooth infection, so his neck swelled out like a goiter, or massive outside the neck. He did do prescribed antibiotics. I think he was around 6 years old. But again, when we look back at their 20 years, to have had antibiotics once is very, very little. But it takes guts, it takes relearning, it takes education to go about doing a preventative, proactive approach. And that's why we want to empower you so that you can help understand, make those different choices, and also know when to say, okay, this isn't working and I do need to get antibiotics at that time. When we look at what's happening in the US, this is from Stand for Health Freedom. We're also seeing that vaccinations are increasing. If we look at 1962, 5 doses, 1983, 24 doses, 2023, now 79 doses before you're 18. So, not saying don't get these, I'm saying being aware. All right. Is this what you want? And are you aware of you have choices, yes, no, and timing. Now, if we look at Canada, this is a different chart, but if you look, this is our Canadian FDA chart, provincial chart. So you can look at Ontario. That's about the middle of the screen. Go back, please. At the Ontario middle part of the screen, this is from April 24th, so very recent. You can see all the different 19 different vaccinations. So there's 19 different ones recommended, but influenza is not on that list. And often they'll say influenza or COVID vaccine. That's not on this list. But if you look at Ontario, we'll see all the different recommendations for that timing. If you look at the Ontario immunization schedule, on the left, you'll see the ages. So by 6 months, it's 20 doses. And by the end of 1 year, it's 25 doses. So in 1 year, that's quite a bit when the child has the lowest immune system. So when you look at it and ask your medical doctor, they actually have to have higher doses in that first year compared to as a child gets older, because their immune system is so weak. So you do have the options to, instead of doing one needle, you'll see the boxes with the same color, like DPT is all in one needle. You have the options to be able to do multiple needles, because the needles are not what hurts, or to split it up to find out and make sure. I do want to do vaccinations, but I want to split up, say, tetanus from the others. I know I'm not traveling. I know my child's not going to get injured by a rusty nail. You have the options to talk about it with your medical doctor, to delay or to split them up over time, so that way you can know if there's a problem, which one is a problem. Or you have the options to follow exactly this schedule. It does make you feel that by school age, so you look at by school age, you're now increasing almost 40 doses, that you feel like it's mandatory. Want to make sure that it is not mandatory. You do have the ability to do the proper paperwork with your lawyer. To say I want to delay, or I want to use some, not use others. It is the parent's choice. We do recommend informed consent. We do recommend do your research, talk to your medical doctor, the person who's in charge. Can you please go back? Talk to your person in charge of these and make an informed decision. As you become an adult, again, it's always about informed decisions. You're looking at, by the age 18, 45 different doses. So it's not the same as the US, but however, that 45 different doses doesn't include an annual influenza, and doesn't include any COVID vaccination. So we recommend know your stuff, do your research, and also know what's in these different vaccines. Again, do your research. A lot of times they used to call aluminum as an adjuvant. Now it's often called thimerosal, and it's even given different names. So just, again, do your research. Know that they do have antibiotics, and for some people they are very helpful, but make sure you have an informed consent. These aren't mandatory. They are recommended, and you can discuss it with your medical doctor or your naturopath. In order, they would be the best to inform you on these decisions. as we get forward towards understanding a fever, I grew up, fevers, bad, 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 bad. Cold bath, Advil, or cold bath, Tylenol to reduce the fever. That's the way I grew up. And then I learned differently, and it was the absolute opposite for my own children. And that was one of the ways we were able to understand fevers and know when it's too severe. We didn't use a thermometer very much because I found that created fear in me, and fear in me created fear in a child. So we would feel their forehead, feel under their neck, feel their wrists. We would look for sort of cool, not cold, but cool baths. We would use homeopathy, things like belladonna. We would use healthy nutrition, healthy rest, and my kids would get adjusted definitely daily, sometimes 5 times in a day or more if their immune system was severe. Our body is smart. It's smart, smart, smart. When our immune system's down, our body raises the temperature, the fever, to help our body be stronger. So we sweat off toxins, and so we can fight that infection that much more quickly. And so they do know when we do fever lowering substances, we do feel better, but we actually the infection can last longer, and then it can affect us even years later, because we know that these substances actually lower our immune system by affecting our gut microbiome, so our kidneys and our liver. So again, in small doses, short term is not the problem. The problem is if that's our go-to every single time. And it's tough, parents. I know if a child had a fever, the first thing you feel horrible. You don't want your child to feel bad, so you want quick solutions to help them feel better so they're back playing, when maybe what their body really needs is rest, and that fever makes them rest and makes them lay down. So again, informed decisions, understanding that our innate intelligence, that intelligence inside our body, is doing the right thing at the right time, and a fever at times is the right thing, and our body needs that rest to go through that fever in order to help us get healthy again. So, what are the things that are affecting our health, and especially affecting our children? It's the poor nutrition, it's overload of technology, overload of stress and decisions, toxic exposure, and damage to the nervous system. When we look at these stressors, they're way high. I was looking where my daughter's living in Idaho, and everything's shutting down at 6 o'clock. Like even in France and Europe and areas where they're much healthier than us, they're slowing the pace down after 6 o'clock. Things aren't open. We're getting more quality dinners together. We're getting more outside time. So let's talk about these different areas: nutrition, technology, stress, toxic exposure, improving your nervous system, so we can help your kids, help you be healthier. When we're looking at these 5 essentials to health, we are looking at helping get to the root cause of our health, to try and prevent problems and look towards being healthy 20 years later, 30 years later, right till your 90s. And again, like those blue zones, making those healthy choices like the blue zone. So we're creating kids for success right till becoming centenarians, 100 years old. So those 5 essentials are maximizing our mind, managing stress, and spirituality, maximizing our nutrition, maximizing our nerve flow through proper neurology, maximizing our exercise and our oxygen, and minimizing those toxins. And it starts by having great routines and asking questions. What are we eating for breakfast and lunch and dinner? Are we creating the best gas in the technique in our system? What kind of snacks are we doing? How many hours on technology? Are our kids overscheduled? And I can tell you that was probably a guilty area for my own health and for my children. We're go, 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 with competitive sports, competitive activities. So it definitely meant for us organizing reading time, really planning that reading time, planning that quiet time with Lego, planning that quiet time outside for a walk or a hike, but making sure there was times where we went to, whether it was on trip or to a family cottage, where it's just no schedule but play in the water or play on the beach. So making sure, even if we're over scheduled and we're busy, 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 we can also plan those down times as well. So all of our everyday decisions affect our future for our kids. So the one of the biggest things is how much sugar. Is it cereal or breakfast in front of a TV? Is it Eggos, or waffles that are quick to go, that are full of processed sugars and processed vegetable oils and dyes? Are we looking at cafeteria food or processed lunches and dinners, microwaved food, put in the pizza, pizza in the oven, versus homemade pizzas? Are we looking at frozen chickens and frozen chicken nuggets? So we have to be aware that, yes, some of these M&Ms or fast foods, fries, whatever, even if they're made at just put in the oven versus homemade potato wedges, all of these decisions affect us later. And our kids are watching what we do. So if they don't see us walking 30 minutes a day and getting 10,000 steps a day, if they don't see us getting the proper exercise, getting the proper nutrition, especially your first meal of the day, even if you're intermittent fasting, that quality meal, if they don't see us in time of meditation or prayer, then they won't see the value. So one of the first steps, and we're making these everyday decisions, is look in the mirror. Am I taking care of my own 5 essentials? Because again, our kids will do what we do, not what we tell them to do. They are so intelligently watching us and mimicking us, and our postures and our activities. Are we looking at our phones first thing in the morning, or are we going to quiet time to set our day? Do we have our to-do lists ready so we know we also have our downtime and our reading time? So some of the typical challenges in our children's diet, in our own diet, is increased sugars from candies, cereals, processed food, desserts, pop, soda, juice. I mean, Gatorade, right? Like, these are all things we don't want our kids to have. The amount of times that we see kids with coming in with a juice box, and then we wonder why they're hyperactive or they get sick often. This is a huge treat. I'm not going to say my kids never had candy floss like at a fair, but we certainly wouldn't eat the whole thing. Would be one for a group and little pieces, and that was your treat. Never going to say they never had an ice cream cone, but certainly it's not a treat daily. Looking at refined carbs, white bread, or brown bread disguised as white bread, tons of toxins in breads and cereals and pastas, especially white pasta, instead of going for sprouted and whole grain or Ezekiel. These refined oils in chips, cookies, fried foods. I get it. One cookie, we think, oh, not so much, or a package of cookies. But then it becomes one a day, a package a day. We want to be very, very cautious that these refined oils can take months and months and months for our bodies to digest and affect that microbiome in your gut, which affects our overall hormone balance, immune system, brain gut reaction. So then affects focus and energy. And then, of course, when we deal with dyes, preservatives in packaged foods, I remember my brother around age 6 having canned cherries on top of a homemade cheesecake. So you thought homemade cheesecake, but the canned cherries to make it sweet. And my brother swelled up like a tomato. His ears, his face swelled up. It wasn't that it was anaphylactic, but that canned preservatives, huge reaction for him. And many times the scariest part is no reaction. So we think it's okay because there's no reaction, but that doesn't mean it's okay. If those problems build up, many of these processed foods now and packaged foods, they know have microplastics. They have different obesogens. They have different estrogens in them. And so our goal is to get away from things that are packaged in plastic, things that are in cans, to help our overall bodies be healthy. Our goal is to eat more and more foods and help our children eat more and more foods that don't have a label. Don't have a label. That's fruit, that's grapes, that's different types of proteins, that it's just one thing. There isn't things that are added to it. When we look at a startling study, they have found in this startling study, this recent, that half of all our children have nutritional deficiencies. They're really not eating those healthy foods. And many times, like you see here, they're eating in front of a device. Ask ourselves, are you eating in front of a device? Do you have your phone with you while you're eating? And so when we look at these nutritional deficiencies, these can be checked with your naturopath to make sure you have that diet. Have you written out your diet for your children over a 7 day and had it analyzed by a professional to determine and ask, are you doing the right thing? And why wouldn't we want to know, right? Make sure we get those checkups. When we look at the dangers of sugar, not only can it affect diabetes, these dangerous sugars, but it increases our risk of type 2 diabetes. And then obesity and diabetes increases a magnitude of chronic diseases later. And I know that my kids would love Dairy Queen too, but the sizes are bigger and bigger, right? Why not get one to share? Why not get the smallest size? And this is a big treat. I did grow up with, you went to play hockey or went to play lacrosse, or a treat afterwards. A treat we have to redefine as healthy fruit, and bringing, oranges, bringing watermelon, things with lots of water in it, having water with lemon or strawberries or cucumbers to make it more exciting. Making your own homemade Gatorade, so that it's or your own homemade lemonade. So we're not trying to reach for those pops or Gatorades or juice boxes. Being aware of those dangers of the additives, they can add artificial flavors, artificial colors. You can see these cereals, the corn pops, chocolate, totally unhealthy. Be aware of some of these chemicals, just even in the plastic containers, plastic bags that these cereals come in, and they can help build up these allergies and lead towards metabolic diseases later. We are absolutely have to be aware that our children are more vulnerable than adults to the dangers of these additives. So one of the biggest areas is to swap the foods, swap the oils. So one of the things that often people go to are canola oil, which is just rancid oil, vegetable oil, rancid oil. Looking at these horrible corn oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, cotton oil, and swap them for the healthy avocado oils, olive oils, coconut oils. We can do that with all our foods. We want to learn to create a healthy swap. So when we look at avocado oil, extremely healthy in your monosaturated fats, promoting that healthy heart health. Looking at coconut oil, has those medium chain triglycerides, and that's going to help boost your metabolism and your energy levels. And that extra virgin olive oil in a dark bottle, very, very common in Mediterranean diets, is known for your anti-inflammatory properties and boosting your immune system. So swap those oils, avocado, coconut, olive oil, much, much better. Let's empower our kids' brains and ourselves with proper nutrition, healthy omega-3 fats, with those fatty fats, helping with brain development, helping with free range eggs. That means that the animal's allowed to run around. It's not caged, so it's cage free, free range wild eggs with the healthy proteins and choline that will support memory and brain function. A little bit more expensive, but it goes a long way. Adding those berries. Remember, Dr. Udani talks about washing them because they typically have a lot of problems, a lot of as pesticides. So washing them with baking soda, but adding more berries, it has that antioxidants, those vitamins for your memory and cognitive function. Lot of deep leafy greens. Definitely, we're seeing more people with muscle cramps. So getting that magnesium into your body with real foods, healthy foods, deep leafy greens, anything that's green. Whether broccoli is awesome. Looking at Brussels sprouts, looking at asparagus, any spinach, looking how to add that to your omelets would be amazing. And if we're looking at food prep, I try to teach my kids food prep twice a week, Sundays and Wednesdays. So you're preparing for the next 3 days. So if you're making omelets, make extra so you can have that as a go-to breakfast. And finally, avocados will have that healthy fats for brain flow and brain function. So, how do we help get our kids healthier? Well, our choices matter. Remember that they're going to go over what we do. And so, looking at our food prep and looking at our first choice of the morning, adding that smoothie, helping our kids learn early about healthy smoothies and how you can add spinach and chia seeds, how you can add different types of protein powders or maca powders. Healthy oils into we would use udo's oil, which is a healthy oil, vegetarian, into those smoothies. um, and making sure those first choices matter, that the junk food just isn't in the house, or it's in moderation. For example, we do have dark chocolate in our house. I'm not going to say that my husband and I don't have a sort of a junk food area, but that junk food area has dark chocolate, at least 70% there, right? It has um, ginger there. So looking towards those healthy swaps and looking towards creating those substitutes all along the way. So making sure there's fruit available all the time, salads available all the time, and looking towards adding lots and lots of good things so our kids, we are full on the healthy things, and rather than feeling like we have to take away things. So when there are unhealthy options, always make sure those healthy options are there first. Now, we can't always do it perfect. None of us do. So we do different supplements. My family always has a great healthy multivitamin, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc. So adding things like probiotics. There are many healthy options for children. Be careful that you're staying away from, the Pharma Plus, the Kirkland, the Swiss. Make sure you go for quality. What's on our shelves is only things my family uses, but there's many options at the health food store. So ask for advice with your naturopath and make sure we get good quality supplements. And we always believe quality food before quality supplements. Make sure also to check by doing your analysis with your naturopath, your nutritionist, that you know quantity of these supplements, because we don't want to guess or even have an over amount of even a good thing, because that can still be toxic. Now, sleep is super important. Kids are getting less and less quality sleep. And part of it is the technology right before bed. So we want to make sure no technology, no blue light right before bed, those black blinds, and getting the sleep earlier before midnight. So creating those routines is super helpful. There is a lot of controversy about co-sleeping. I did do co-sleeping with my kids when they were very little. So there's controversy, and I think it really depends on each parent how they can get that quality sleep. But quality sleep is vital for physical, mental, emotional function and brain development. Developing those growth hormones is done through sleep. This is when the body is healing. So kids do need more sleep than adults. Adults typically 6.5 to 7.5 hours on an average, and you want to try and not change that routine much more than a half an hour. And so that's really important also on the weekends. And children typically at the beginning might need 10 to 12 hours, and then over time as teenagers a little bit more. So being aware that there's different amounts of sleep as we from children and then through the growth phase of puberty. Key is getting outside, and with these beautiful days, that's going to help us get that vitamin D time. So I was watching a video of my nephew, 2 years old, just playing on the sprinkler with my nephew who's 10 years old outside doing a water balloon fight, um, getting running and chasing after each other, going for bike rides, going for hikes, doing a family workout outside, getting off of technology and trying to limit that technology on a regular basis. This is the opportunity to get social time, the opportunity to get sports, which is going to help our overall development. We want to look at this digital world. It is overcoming us, and we're not moving enough. It's more time sitting on a device, sitting, looking at the TV, sitting on an iPad. So finding ways to limit that time and the blue light glasses. So for us, when my kids were little, we would be limiting it to 30 minutes a day. The research shows that you want to limit it to less than an hour a day. Kids between the ages of 2 and 5 can watch up to 32 hours in a week. 32 hours. That means that kids could be definitely on a device or TV, um, more than 2 hours a day, which is definitely affecting growth. And that includes ourselves to look at and find out, are we overdoing it? I know when I grew up, it was max 30 minutes a day. It was the Little Rascals. On the Saturday, it was the Smurfs. It was one favorite show. But the goal for our children today is less than an hour, and aim for an educational show, something that's going to develop their brains. I remember having, for our kids, on plane rides, we would watch little Franklin, a turtle, and it would teach about, if the E was after a vowel, then how that would change that vowel, or adding. So using these educational videos, if we need them for, plane rides, for car rides, that's the time to make sure we're investing and not just looking to the phone for distraction. And this is difficult if you want to go to a restaurant, for example, making sure we get our kids involved in those adult discussions. So this might be looking to ourselves in doing a technology detox, or technology detox for the family, where you're just saying, for the weekend, nobody looks at their phones, or, we're able to do that for 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, and that's it for the day. For me, I look at my phone. I try to do that 3 times a day: morning 15 minutes, lunch 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and 15 minutes before I go to bed. I'm trying to limit that I'm not looking at my phone all the way throughout the day. And of course, for our family, we try to make sure no technology at the family dinners, no technology at restaurants, so that everything's put away and we're enjoying each other's company. When we look at that technology, we do need to be aware of that tech snack, that looking down. Our kids will follow that posture. So we want to make sure hands in front of our bodies, and the phone is in front of our nose, and the screen is right here. If our arms are too tired, our eyes are too tired, we need to be off that phone. The more our head is down for laptops, phones, iPads, the more damage to our neck, the more it's going to damage our entire nervous system. Everything suffers when our nervous system is damaged. Those nerves in your top part of our neck affect brain function, memory, cognition, our eyes, our ears, our sinuses, our thyroid, into our arms for strength and power. It's going to affect the nervous system all the way down to every single organ in your body. That brain gut reaction is going to affect our digestion, which then is going to affect the fuel in our tank for our energy. So when we're getting adjustments, what we're doing is, as chiropractors, is finding and removing areas of subluxation, those areas of misalignment on the spine, damage and pressure on the spine, and we're removing those subluxations, removing that pressure. And that can be as light as you would touch your eyelid. You can have very gentle adjustments with the instruments, or you can have more aggressive adjustments by hand. They are not like TikTok videos, crack, 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 everything. That sells a video. It has to be precise in the right area. So first it involves a thorough examination, looking for those areas of subluxation that may include posture, range of motion, nerve scans, thermal scans, SEMGs, balance, weighting scales, palpation, feeling the spine in x-rays. And when we do those adjustments, especially for children, it relaxes the sympathetic nervous system. It gets rid of that fight, flight, go, 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 rush around, and it helps children relax. It helps remove muscle tension, helps soothe the nervous system, improve blood circulation, to get out of that sympathetic stress and to get into more of a parasympathetic rest and digest situation. Some of the warning signs for subluxations for children are inability to latching or not staying on with latching. I love helping with breastfeeding moms. That is my volunteer time. Now I've helped well over 350 moms with breastfeeding. And they may favor one side all the time. So they might have a neck concern or a TMJ concern. So we help with looking, also helping the muscles in the mouth to help with things like tongue tie. They may have excessive gas or constipation, acid reflux, projectile vomiting my daughter had at the beginning. That's pretty scary when you see that. Lots of ear infections. We do ear adjustments for bones. The smallest bones in your body are in your ear. Chronic respiratory conditions. So there are ways to help teach parents how to open up their chest, to help them breathe better, or asthma or sleeping issues. So as these stresses are building up, all of these can result from things like delivery, the delivery process. They know the research can damage the upper nerves in the neck, especially C1, C2. They've done studies on thousands of babies where the first subluxations can be at the top part of the neck, and that can damage the nervous system. But it's also the way we pick up our kids, hold their necks, the way they sleep sometimes on their stomach with their necks twisted and turned. The birthing process can have a ton of pressure pulling on the neck, even if it gets worse if they have suction or forceps. All of those areas can damage the neck. So these are areas where we want to look for muscle imbalances, tone imbalances, pelvic unleveling, head tilting, jaw turned, muscle stiffness or looseness, absences of reflexes or different types of muscle strength. The doctor would do a specific test to see if these warning signs are available, are there, and signs of subluxation. And then we do what's called an adjustment to remove those areas of subluxation extremely gently. Usually a child giggles throughout it or sleeps throughout of an adjustment. It's that gentle. Some of the warning signs for adults, because of course our kids watch what we do. So if we have these signs, these are signs of subluxation. And if parents are getting adjusted, then the kids see that as a healthy way to maintain their own nervous system, just like they see us as parents brush our teeth to maintain our teeth or take care of our eyes. We want our children to see how to take care of our spines and nervous systems. So if you have any of these signs, from headaches, dizziness, fatigue, acid reflux, food intolerances, allergies, skin concerns, sleep concerns, numbness or tingling, these are signs that you may be subluxated, but they're definitely signs that you should get a spinal checkup, a nervous system checkup. And I do recommend a 5 essentials checkup, looking at the whole body with nutrition, stress, exercise, nervous system, and areas of toxicity. We do see lots of kids, and I love it. I love working with the kids. Johan to helping with TMJ, so able to breastfeed better, or to help with tongue tie by working inside the mouth. I love working for myself. I used to suffer from a lot of headaches, migraines, asthma, and wish I got adjusted younger. I love working with kids with ADHD. At the beginning, you got to chase after them. They barely lay down. You might do their adjustments standing or in the play area or hugging a toy. But then eventually they just lay down and they'll wait for 5 minutes for you. And the parents are so excited that they'll just lay down and not move for 5 minutes because there's so much less stress on their nervous system. I think of my own kids' testimonial where my kids were adjusted from the first day of birth by my husband, just did regularly wellness checks later, and very, very rarely sick. And when they were, recovered very quickly, and very little use of antibiotics. So it made a lot of choices along the way. Never perfect. It's always a growing process, but it's amazing to see now that my kids very, very rarely get sick and need any types of medications at all. So, what are your action steps? Action steps is do a consultation with a naturopath. Are you do a 2 week diet? Write out your diet for your kids, exactly what you eat, what your kids eat, and have somebody check it. Is this the right thing? Is there an area where we should be adding or removing? Doing those healthy swaps, checking is there any area of nutritional deficiency? When do you want to know? And then get a consultation. Consultations, meet and greets are no cost for us in our office, but I recommend them wherever you go with your health professionals, so you do feel like they care, you do feel comfortable talking to them. And getting that examination of your spine is crucially important to determine, is your nervous system functioning properly? Is your nervous system stressed out? Is it working so you can digest your foods properly? And then create your own healthcare team. Healthcare team includes your medical doctor, includes your naturopath, includes your chiropractor, includes your dentist, your optometrist. Create the team and have them work for you so that you can be as healthy as possible. Tons of information today about creating healthy families. It starts day one. It starts with your own habits, and so that your kids do what you do, watch you doing and making amazing choices. Stay tuned with us with lots of more information about that gut health, dealing with acid reflux and heartburn, learning about your neck and how I damaged my neck and my healing process, and of course, the importance of sleep. We are trying to provide all of this for you. It is for free, it is volunteer. We care, we love about you. Pass it on to others, help them learn too. And make sure you stay connected. We have so many different ways to learn more. We definitely want to be able to help you and your family. And if you do have an opportunity and you feel comfortable, please do a review. Take care and be with you soon.